Hi, everyone. This is Eric speaking, and I'm delighted to welcome you to another episode of the Trip to Paris StudyCast. Before Emma jumps in, let me give you a quick frame for today's conversation. A few weeks ago, she and I packed two well-worn backpacks, printed a minimalist itinerary, and flew across the channel to spend 7 unforgettable spring days in the City of Light. We both kept detailed travel journals because we promised our listeners that we would dissect every cobblestone, every creamy spoonful of pistachio gelato, and every burst of sunset over the Seine, capture it in vivid language, and turn it into useful material for English learners who crave authentic but structured dialogue. So in this first segment, I'll outline the timeline of the trip, highlight a few expectations we carried with us, and confess some of the logistical missteps that inevitably happen when your French is shaky and your phone's offline map refuses to cooperate. I'll talk about landing at Charles de Gaulle on a misty Monday morning, fumbling with ticket machines on the RERB line, and finally emerging at Saint-Michel station, where Notre Dame's scaffolding glistened with dewdrops. You'll hear how our hostel room was the size of shoebox, yet boasted a postcard window view of bouquinistes lining the embankment, and how our first croissant literally melted between 2 jet-lag smiles. I also want to set a learning objective. Listen for the past simple and past continuous tenses we sprinkle throughout our story. Note the travel vocabulary, words like luggage allowance, turnstile, and jet bridge, and pay attention to idioms such as hit the ground running. As I weave through the narrative, I'll pause to paraphrase tricky phrases, give synonyms, and spell out the chunkier names like Champs-Élysées to keep the pace friendly for intermediate ears. All right, that should be enough scaffolding. Emma is already smiling at me across the mic, eager to contradict my memory and add her color commentary. So let's hand over the audio baton to her for the second block of this bilingual adventure. Before I do, here's a teaser. We'll stroll up rainy Montmartre, question selfie sticks at the Trocadero, and admit to mangling the word bouillabaisse. Stick with us for a quick glossary and a shadowing drill. Headphones ready, notebooks open. Let's dive into the Parisian maze together. This introduction is your map, so circle back whenever you need as we progress through the tale.
Hi folks, Emma here taking over from Eric's tidy outline, ready to sprinkle my own impressions across the audio canvas. Stepping out of Saint-Michel station felt like opening a pop-up storybook. Buttersweet croissants in the air, carousel music on the breeze, pewter water sliding under stone bridges. Our first Parisian photo accidentally immortalized a pigeon mid-wing. That unplanned guest now marks page 1 of my journal. That evening we joined a walking tour through Le Marais led by Leah, whose stops blended art history, local rumor, and pronunciation drills. Every archway was an excuse to chant Hotel Particulier. Tiny boutiques glowed like jewelry cases. Falafel stands perfumed the night. Vinyl shops whispered promises of forgotten jazz. Tip for listeners: begin every request with excuses plus a smile. It charms even hurried waiters. Day 2 dragged us, on my insistence, up the staircase to Sacré-Cœur before dawn. Eric carried both cameras while I chased cinematic fantasy. His forgiveness arrived with the sun washing the ivory dome pink. From that height Paris resembled a toy city dusted with gold, soundtracked by a lone guitarist playing La Vie en Rose. We wandered Montmartre's lanes, traced murals, met a painter who offered to sketch us, and sampled absinthe at a bar so narrow the bartender mixed drinks over an espresso machine. Language focus. Descriptive adjectives like misty, cobbled, azure. Feelings framed by my heart somersaulted. I'll pause to pose comprehension checks and invite you to shadow my intonation, cadence over accent every time. Expect my commentary to color Eric's history. Rumors of cannonballs in Place de Vosges, underground concerts in catacombs, and the Lovelock Bridge collapsing under devotion. Later I'll decode metro etiquette and share survival lines such as, table for 2 on the terrace, s'il vous plaît. Before handing back the mic, here's a small triumph. I ordered espresso in French. I rehearsed un café s'il vous plaît, and the barista's nod felt like a trophy. We sipped beside locals reading the news. Note: standing room only, common in Parisian bars, and faire la queue, to queue, which we did outside Sainte-Chapelle, chatting with travelers from Brazil in blended tongues. Enough caffeine tales, Eric. Reclaim the story with your museum misadventures at Orsay. I'll pop back with dessert notes and fresh idioms.
Thanks, Emma. Baton received. Let me rewind to the morning after your espresso triumph. Museums were my domain, so we headed to the Musée d'Orsay, a former train station turned palace of Impressionism. In my haste, I rented the audio guide in German, thinking I'd multitask language practice. It froze halfway through Van Gogh, forcing me to improvise translations while weaving through the crowd. Lesson: when tech misfires, paraphrase boldly. Listeners forgive enthusiasm. We lingered before Monet's lilies, whispering synonyms like shimmer, gleam, haze. Crossing the Seine on the pedestrian bridge, we paused to watch tour boats leave ivory wakes under us, a saxophonist filling the gap with autumn leaves. Lunch was baguette jambon on the Tuileries grass, chased by pigeons that deserved Oscars for persistence. Grammar flag. Past perfect pops up when I say, I had underestimated the birds. Next came the Louvre. We set a three-piece mission: Winged Victory, Mona Lisa, Hammurabi. Emma challenged me to deliver 30-second descriptions, describing Nike as marble mid-flight felt oddly athletic. Recording ourselves exposed swallowed syllables, a brutal but useful mirror. Near closing time, we nearly got lost in a silent corridor until a guard ferried us out, giving me a chance to practice conditionals. Had you not found us, we then drifted to all the lost sight under violet dusk. Notre Dame wore its scaffolding like silver lace. Shakespeare and Company hosted an impromptu poetry reading. I left with a slim detective novella in easy French. Vocabulary corner, to leaf through dog-eared paperback. Rain nudged us into a jazz cellar where a quartet played until 1 a.m. Each solo etched itself into memory. Emma convinced me to try escargot, and my verdict, garlicky balloons, earned a laugh from the waiter when I managed cetate delicious. We ended the night walking the Seine embankment, practicing echo shadowing. Emma spoke. I repeated half a beat later, our voices mixing with river hush. Quick tip before I yield: set micro-objectives. We limited the Louvre to 3 artworks, learned 1 fresh adjective for each, and reviewed pronunciation every hour. Bite-sized goals prevent fatigue and keep curiosity glowing. Apply it anywhere: a vast museum, a dense novel, or a long vocab list. Pick 3 targets, collect expressions, then leave wanting more. And carry water. Those galleries are warm. Explore on.
Emma again, guiding you through our pastry pilgrimage, the final day, entirely devoted to sugar and spontaneous French. We started in Saint-Germain at a pâtisserie famed for croissants that crackle like autumn leaves. I chatted with the baker, learning the term tirage, while Eric recorded the symphony of trays clacking and layers shattering. Tip: curiosity invites mini lessons no textbook can match. Next came Rue Bonaparte's macarons. We bought 6 flavors, staged a blind tasting outside St. Sulpice, and sprinkled comparative forms: sweeter than, lighter than, as airy as. Passion fruit won. Feeling bold, we asked passersby for café tips. 2 retirees sketching the fountain sent us to a nook beside a bookbinder. There, the barista weighed beans on brass scales, teaching us grammage. Over flat whites, we noticed our jokes flowing without mental translation. A milestone worth celebrating. Craving art with sugar, we drifted to l'orangerie, whispering modal verbs, might notice, could interpret, as Monet's lilies surrounded us. Outside, we catalogued Tuileries vocabulary. Gravel path, carousel horse, sun-dappled leaves. Evening saw us at Trocadero, future tense practice. The tower will glitter, crowds will gasp. When lights burst, I tallied my top learning hacks. Read bilingual menus aloud, switch your phone's language, keep a pocket notebook, celebrate micro-victories, and embrace mistakes. We ended on Pont de Arts, recording takeaways over the Seine's hush. Before Eric's farewell, repeat after me. Paris taught me to listen, laugh, and leap. Once more with confidence. Paris taught me to listen, laugh, and leap. Record, compare, improve. Let me fill in a few study gems. Anchor vocabulary to senses. Tie zesty to lemon curd aroma. Velvety to dark chocolate ganache. Write new words on a napkin, snap a photo, review on the metro. Speaking of transit, we shadowed station announcements, opera, ode and invalids to polish nasal vowels. If riders noticed, they kindly pretended not to. Gamify tasks. Count blue scooters while practicing numbers. Describe pastries with vivid chunks like butter-rich crescent. At day's end, we tried a challenge. Recount the afternoon using only freshly learned verbs, whisk, savor, wander, and lasted 20 minutes before laughing at our own creativity. Okay, affirmation encore. Paris taught me to listen, laugh, and leap. Got it?
On Y va.
Repetition with feeling cements language better than drills.
Thanks for lending us your ears today. This is Eric saying au revoir. Keep exploring, keep practicing, and we'll catch you on the next trip.